Okay, so this is part 2 of our triple threat series, our side control series. Part 1 was a previous video, first submission. Today we're gonna do our second submission, and then next video will be our third submission. So our triple threat series, all from side control, okay? So let's start. So I started my side control. I crystal ball my arm around. I pull him into my lap to suck him into my lap, and then I find my way to his wrist. You can watch the previous video for how we got here. Now, sometimes when I try the Americana, the person defends by straightening their arm. So as he straightens his arm, I don't want to let him go all the way around like this. It's not wrong. It's going to be part of our third submission. Go back. But what I want to do when he straightens his arm, and I want to put my head on the opposite side of his arm to my hand. So now he's stuck. The only way he can bring his arm is this direction, okay? So step one, when he strains his arm, it's okay to let the hand that's grabbing your wrist slide down, but it's not okay to let the hand that's grabbing his wrist slide down. You don't want to be here like this with his wrist, because sometimes people have longer arms than you, and when they straighten their arm, you're going to let your hand slide. Don't let it slide, okay? As he straightens his arm, you just let this one go with it, but you can adjust this one to go further down your forearm. Now I block so he can't go any further, and the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that the back of his hand is on the mat. Now sometimes people are going to tap just to you pressing the back of the hand on the mat. So just press the back of the hand on the mat. The other thing I like to do is I like to push his arm into my bicep more. So when he straightens his arm, I actually push his arm into my bicep more, and that's going to help me ensure that his elbow is facing down. Now, if I'm not able to, sometimes his elbow is going to be facing like 5 o'clock, and what I want to do is I want to push his elbow into like 11 o'clock. So basically, when you hit an arm bar or any kind of arm lock, you want to push the elbow in the opposite direction of where it naturally would go so that there's some pain. Okay, so he straightens his arm, I block, and then I'm going to push his arm into my arm more. Now I put the back of the hand on the mat. Now to hit the submission, I basically just flex this wrist or flex this arm to push up against the elbow. Not the tricep or the forearm, the elbow. Now his wrist is moving, but if I hold his wrist down and I do that very slowly, he's going to tap. Now if his elbow is at like 5 o'clock, that means I got to bring his arm to 11 o'clock. So I got to lift my arm up and rotate to 11 o'clock. The main thing to think about when you're doing this is whatever direction the elbow is, just take his elbow in the complete opposite direction to help his arm get straightened. And if you push his arm into your arm, his elbow is going to be more likely down, and that's going to be very easy. You just do a little flex. Now when you're drilling this, you want to be very slow because this does come fast. You don't want to crank it like this. You don't want to crank any submission. But when you do this, you want to go very slow. Just flex your wrist to raise his arm, and they're sure to tap.